Serious people that do autopsies, what's the weirdest thing that you have found that didn't have anything to do with the person's death? I worked as a pathology assistant. My boss once found a 6-inch builder's nail in a chap's thigh. He'd died on site after an accident, but the nail was all healed over, even where it had nicked the bone, so it must have been there a few years. A paramedic buddy showed me pictures of an accident where the guy was carrying a nail gun up a ladder to a roof and accidentally drove a nail through his pocket, the iPhone in the pocket, and into his femur. The hospital did imaging to ensure it wasn't going to blow an artery, and then just yanked it out. I'm late to the party here. I used to take x-rays in the morgue for suspicious deaths, murders, etc. One time we were doing an abdomen x-ray on a guy that was found in a golf course pond. After rolling him on his side to gather the plate, a live frog wriggled out of his butt. The morgue tech caught him and put him into a specimen jar. He took some debris from the bag and put it in the jar and poked holes in the lid. One of my coworkers googled the type of frog and confirmed that he was native to the area. He then biked him back and released him into his pond at the end of the day. I doubt any of his frog friends believed his story. UK gang member's mother died of a heart attack during a home invasion. Aggravated burglary. 87 years old. Gang had burst in looking for drugs and money. No signs of assault, but the circumstances required a full examination to be sure nothing suspicious had occurred. During the post-mortem, 2 ounces of smack found in her anus. Back in the 90s, I worked for the company that was contracted to move bodies for the coroner. We picked up the body of a lady who had worked as a tailor in her youth. When they did the post-mortem, there were several dressmaking pins and needles under her skin, mainly in her legs. There was also a pin lodged in her lung. Coroner thought she must have inhaled it. She'd suffered a pulmonary embolism back in the 60s which had forced her to retire. Maybe the pin was the cause of it. How she hadn't felt the pins or that none of them had been picked up on x-rays or scans she'd had in later life, I don't know. Cause of death was a stroke. I was once in a mental health facility for only a short amount of time, and I met a woman whose daughter passed away from a drug overdose and had been upset at her for selling her grandmother's necklace for what she thought was drugs, but when the autopsy came back it was found in her stomach. Apparently she was swallowing the same necklace for years, and I can imagine why someone would do that. I worked in a cadaver lab. People would donate their bodies to science. We would essentially cut them up into different cuts depending on what hospitals, med schools or researchers wanted. Most of the tissue went for surgical practice, i.e. a torso would be sent out for spinal surgery practice, a leg for knee replacement practice. Once we had a donor who died during surgery. We found a very large pair of scissors inside of him. We also had lots of donors with evidence of cancer, like tumors all over their lungs, with no medical history of cancer. We found a lot of abnormal or enlarged organs. We once removed a 50-pound liver from a guy, and also we found horseshoe kidneys, 2 kidneys fused together, in a person. When I was a student I saw an autopsy of a man who had hanged himself. When we checked the main arteries in the heart he had a huge blockage. He was basically just about to have a huge heart attack, so probably would have died anyway. Sorry, pretty grim. One of the major symptoms of a heart attack is sense of impending doom. Kinda makes me wonder if that was his final straw and he would have died later the same day of the heart attack. Rolls of dollar bills inside the vaginal cavity. Removed it and let her property dry, and then returned to the family with the rest of her belongings. So wash your hands after handling money. Edit, maybe 50 bills, but can't remember if they were singles or large bills. Cause of death was an overdose, I think, but not sure. There are the normal abnormal things like extra spleens, extra ureters, surprise tumors, and swallowed foreign bodies. The record holder was $6.25 in assorted change. The one that wins is a Sharpie in the bladder, with the cap on. I was the one that got to explain what sounding was to the resident and lab assistant.